Today you're going to be on a fun ride of multiple things, so if you haven't already been amazed.
Today, we're pulling the curtain back and taking you inside the Woodland Park Zoo.
Tian and Zan are way up in the tree. They're a bit shy, but we'll take you up there.
New exhibits, new animals,
Who do we have there?
and new adventures await right now on Cairo 7.
Check out these little guys. If this doesn't give you a good idea of what kind of fun we're going to have today, I don't know what will. We are inside the Woodland Park Zoo for another round of fun here in Seattle. And today we're going to be taking you through all things zoo baby. You know, the cutest, the cuddliest, the adorable ones that just make you go, aw. Today we've got gorillas lined up for you, lemurs, pandas, as you just saw, the penguins too. We're also going to introduce you to a new species being added to the zoo. That's right, Woodland Park Zoo has their first ever baby red-ruffed lemurs. And if that doesn't sound like enough fun, we'll meet some other things along the way. In fact, hey, we've got a peacock friend right here. And don't forget, coming up later, we're also going to check in with our good friend Shelby Miller. You remember her from last season. But before we get to any of that, let's dive in with our good friends, the penguins.
So you can see in 3 weeks, they can go from this size to that size. Look, it's going right under him. Thinks it's his mom.
We're just about wrapped up here at the penguin pool, so we'll pull up the anchor, if you will, and we'll check in with Shelby in a little bit. But right now, we want to take you to the Trail of Vines, where the baby tapir you met in season 1, not much of a baby anymore. Teenage tapir Semperna here still has a few hundred pounds to go, and she's working on it. But when you have an animal that rapidly grows fast, how do you keep up? Now, we're going to put a pin in that. We'll be revisiting this with Shelby Miller, how you baby-proof an exhibit that is rapidly changing. All right, so you've seen the baby penguins and the not-so-small baby tapir, but how about something from the cute and cuddly file? We'll take you up into the trees with Tian and Zan. All right, they've been a little elusive up there in the canopy, but the good thing here, we can flash you back and show you when they were even younger. One of my favorite things here inside Woodland Park Zoo are those small features that really draw you in. We showed you how big the red pandas are, but how does your hand match up against one of these tiny red-ruffed lemurs? Now, you don't have to take my word for it. In fact, I'll introduce you to this rambunctious group. red ruff lemurs may be small, but they are loud.
Extremely loud.
Do the babies have that in them too? Are they getting vocal?
I haven't heard any noises out of the babies yet, other than maybe a little bit of calling to mom kind of thing, saying, "Where are you?"
While they've not caught up to their adults in terms of vocals, they have figured out how to crawl all over mom, which frankly can be a bit much.
She needs a break from them sometimes, she tells us, where she wants some time out on the island.
How does she tell you?
Oh, she just separates herself. She gets to areas that they can't get to, and will kind of say, "I need a little time out here. The kids are too much for me right now, and I need some time away from them." So we'll give her even 15 minutes, half an hour to get out there and play around out on the island here before she gets back. And then she tells us it's time for me to go back in with the kids. But she's done an amazing job as a mom so far, and she knows exactly what she's doing despite being a first-time mother.
Come on, girls.
And there's 3 kids, by the way.
I got you.
Sally, the mom, has her work cut out for her, especially because the males,
So this is Orion, and this is Lucian.
these 2 fellas, they don't always pick up the slack. To be fair, when we caught up a few of the little ones were having trouble getting back inside for dinner. Dad stayed out until the keepers could wrangle them all back inside to eat. But even introducing the adult male lemurs, well, it's a decision keepers leave up to mom.
Well, we're just kind of monitoring the behaviors, mostly of mom, just making sure that she's comfortable and allowing them to come in and do that. So,
Speaking of, who do we have there giving us
this is, I don't know who that is. That's Lucian, I think, that's looking to go inside, and I think he's saying it's feeding time right now. Time to come in for the evening, and he'll spend the evening in with the family group now. So that is something we just accomplished yesterday.
But the big steps, that's on the baby's timeline. You see, red ruff lemurs love spending time high up in trees. Some species, like these ring-tailed lemurs, prefer hanging in groups lower to the ground. But the red ruff lemurs enjoy high jumps in these trees. And no one wants to see a baby take a tumble.
There's going to be nerves for the keepers for sure. As we watch them, 30, 40 feet up in this willow tree, jumping around for the first time, it's going to be, we're going to want to be down there trying to catch them as they fall, even though we don't need to.
Those worries are natural. The planning for these red ruff lemurs started years before all of this. The adult males were brought in years ago as part of a plan to have babies. Sally, however, the new mom, came more recently, so this is the first time we've seen babies of this species in 16 years here. And despite all of their planning, all the literature these zoo keepers have read, the lemurs can still surprise.
It's amazing how much progress they make in 1 week. So they're jumping around, starting to make jumps, and they're hanging from their back legs and just starting to be a real handful out there. These guys are so much more capable than I think what we can give them credit for sometimes. It's hard to not, I think, baby them, just because, we don't want anything to go wrong. So I think we're extra cautious.
Nature finds a way. For the zoo's part, the key is offering them what they need behind the scenes. Warmth, nesting materials. But out here, it's a habitat that they love.
A lot of different climbing structures, as you see there.
No doubt that's important, but what you may not notice is the heated cave or the hidden structures just above where Dad is relaxing here. After all, babies, moms, the dad, they all love one thing most of all.
Lemurs love the sun. They'll sit out there and worship just kind of gather the rays out there. There's nothing they love more than seeing the sun out there, and you won't be able to miss them.
Coming up, we'll dive in with the penguins to better understand the plight of these South American swimmers.
So it's really important for us to bring their story to the people.
Plus, you've seen baby proofing at home, but what about at the zoo? It's more common than you may think. Shelby Miller will show you how the staff here prepares for one of its fastest growing babies, the Malayan tapir.
There's only something like 36 of these Malaysian tapirs in all of zoos in North America, so pretty exciting that we have a successful program here and we have a baby to show people.
Cairo 7 Cares is here to help those who need it most.
By supporting local nonprofits and events to help give more people access to basic needs.
Let's work together to make a difference right here in Western Washington. Cairo 7 Cares.
Welcome back to the Woodland Park Zoo, where we are putting the babies front and center today. This pint-sized bundle of joy fits into her mother's pouch. This is a baby wallaby. The precious Joey is a native to Australia, and she loves exploring, lounging, and snacking in her exhibit, which you can find in the Australia-Asia section of the zoo. Moving on now, off into the depth of the Northern Trail. Here you'll find the youngest of the mountain goats. This little cutie was born in the spring of 2020 to Mom Atlin and Dad Zeus, who hail from the Olympic National Park. The rocks in this exhibit may look a bit steep, and that is intentional. In the wild, goats can live on mountain ledges 10,000 feet in the air, high above predators like mountain lions and bears. Clearly, those concerns this baby doesn't have to worry about in the Woodland Park Zoo. Now back to the forest of tropical Asia, which is home to some of the world's most endangered species. It's here in the Trail of Vines where you'll be able to catch a glimpse of the Malayan tapir. Saperna was born in the summer of 2020, but in just 1 year, her cream-colored striped pattern began to fade just before her first birthday, and she's going to get big. A Malayan tapir can weigh up to 900 pounds. And will you look at that, Saperna is chomping down on some alfalfa. The last time you saw her, she was just a little gal, and she's got a few 100 pounds to go. She is apparently working on that. But any baby inside of a zoo is much like a human baby, clumsy in their early years, if you will. So they have to baby-proof exhibits, much like you would your own home when you bring a new kid in. Shelby Miller is going to take us behind the glass and show us how safety remains a top priority.
Following closely behind her mom, this baby tapir is still getting her footing as she trots through her exhibit at the Woodland Park Zoo.
She is undeniably one of the cutest things around.
She sure is. This baby girl spent 13 months in her mom's belly. She's just a month old and still getting acclimated to life here at the zoo, which is why it's important the exhibit team limits any risks a tiny tapir may encounter.
When you have a 700-pound adult, you don't have to worry about a 4-inch gap. But when you introduce a baby into that space, the baby could stick its head in that area, a 4-inch gap, and maybe get wedged or panic. And so we closed up all those kinds of gaps.
Tapirs are warm weather animals, so it's important the baby doesn't get chilly at night. Exhibit workers change the temperature and humidity sensors in the barn, so it's always comfortable at the little tapir's ever-changing height. Tapirs are great swimmers and often use their trunk-like snouts as snorkels. But the exhibit's pond can be a bit deep for a calf.
So we drained the pool, started out with just about 2 inches of water, and slowly over the days have increased, and now I think we're up to about 8 or 10 inches of water is all. And the calf will go in there and splash and get used to the water and understand how its body is relative to floating in that level of water. And as we fill it, we'll get more and more comfortable with that.
For every species, baby-proofing an exhibit is unique, but it's always important. Tapirs are highly endangered in the wild. Here at the zoo, staff members make sure first-time tapir mom Ulan and her baby girl are set up for success.
There's only something like 36 of these Malaysian tapirs in all of zoos in North America, so pretty exciting that we have a successful program here and we have a baby to show people.
Here inside the Woodland Park Zoo, you can read all about the South American Humboldt penguin. Now, if you read about them, what you'll learn is for 4 decades, their population's been going down. Climate change, habitat destruction, it's all part of the problem. But as you take a look at these swimmers, you gotta ask, how do you keep them safe? Shelby Miller's gonna help us figure that out.
So she is 3 months old. Her name is Yaku, which means water in Quechua. So we have 41 Humboldt penguins here at the exhibit. These are warm weather penguins. Most people only know about the Antarctic or subantarctic species. So we're very fortunate here in Seattle to have weather that cooperates, that allows us to have these adaptive species. It's also great because they each have all their different little personalities, right? So we have 41 penguins, 41 different personalities. You saw they can be picky when they're eating, so it's really important to know who likes what. So that way, if they're not eating their favorite foods, that might give us an indication that maybe something's going on with their health. So this room is used for a number of things. Sometimes enrichment, like first thing in the morning, we give the birds access to this area where they can play with toys and frolic, run around with each other. Basically, it's a great enrichment opportunity for them, especially first thing in the morning. They're up with the sun and ready to go. Peru around now, there's thought to be around anywhere from 9,000 to 13,000 Humboldt penguins. There are also populations cropping up in Chile. But when you think about it, that's actually a very low number. So it's really important for us to bring their story to the people and have them see these Humboldt penguins in this environment and to see them thriving here, see how they're doing, see how they interact. People are fascinated by penguins anyway, but to tell the story of Punta San Juan and the plight of the Humboldt penguin, it's a very important conservation message that we want to share with the public. It's just great for people to be able to interact with them, to watch their behaviors. It just brings them a lot closer to the animal, and by doing so, we hope that they'll, the more they learn, that the more they're going to take action for conservation of this species. Paying attention to things like climate change and pollution, plastic pollution, things like that. That really is the plight, the current plight in real time of these species.
Pretty easy to see why everyone loves the penguins here inside the Woodland Park Zoo. Now we're done here, but we're not done. In fact, we're going to introduce you to the three youngest gorillas here, Yola, Kitoko, and of course the baby, Zuna. Zuna's coming along great because mom and dad are doing their jobs. But you may be wondering, what does it take to introduce and welcome in a new gorilla to a troop? We'll explore that special bond between mom and dad. We'll talk about the species survival plan here at the zoo. But first, let's get your brains working on today's trivia. What is the biggest primate currently living in Madagascar? Is it the red-ruffed lemur, the hedgehog, the hippopotamus, or is it the mongoose? We'll have your answer when your look inside Woodland Park Zoo continues.
Cairo 7 Cares is here to help those who need it most.
By supporting local nonprofits and events to help give more people access to basic needs.
Let's work together to make a difference right here in Western Washington. Cairo 7 Cares.
Today you're going to be on a fun ride of multiple things, so if you haven't already been amazed.
Today, we're pulling the curtain back and taking you inside the Woodland Park Zoo.
Tiana and Zan are way up in the tree. They're a bit shy, but we'll take you up there.
New exhibits. New animals.
Who do we have there?
And new adventures await right now on Cairo 7.
Welcome back to the Woodland Park Zoo. Now, I promised you gorilla babies. I was not lying, but there are so many animals that we have to run down at the zoo. In fact, let's see if you can keep up. Now that you've seen all those adorable babies, we have to talk about why animals are bred in a zoo setting. It's It's part of a worldwide conservation effort known as a species survival plan. Now, lots of species have them, including our good friends here at the Woodland Park Zoo, the western lowland gorillas.
All gorillas, troops, and families should include babies.
This is Zuna, the baby of Kwame's troop. And while she's small, she plays an oversized role.
Babies are part of the structure of that family, and so it's a very important part of their enrichment, if you will, in their social life.
As Martin Ramirez explains, babies are top of mind when experts plan out a species survival plan. The blueprint, if you will, of how zoos keep a genetically diverse, varied population. There's intention here, and biology plays a huge role. But plans on where these babies are going to go matters as well. So in the Woodland Park Zoo's case, they have animals like the western lowland gorillas and these red-ruffed lemurs, where they take an active role in breeding. Whereas the next-door neighbors, those ring-tailed lemurs, they're part of a bachelor pad. No ladies here, but their genetics could one day be called upon. The animals I mentioned are just the tip of the iceberg. There are hundreds of species survival plans, often called SSPs.
And this includes everything from a gorilla to a giraffe to even something like a little snail.
All the way down that small.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's SSPs for snails.
From small to big. The Woodland Park Zoo takes part in over 100 SSPs.
Good boy, buddy.
And each keeper seems to have a ton of passion.
When these guys first got here, I was here as much as the zoo would allow me to be here.
We'll introduce you to these passionate individuals soon, but today it's about the babies. Before you get this cute little penguin, for instance, there's a whole lot of planning. Everything from demeanor with social animals like gorillas to location, travel times to move potential matches. And as Martin tells me, finding a match often starts with genetics.
They develop what's called a stud book. And so that's essentially just a list of every animal that's within the population that we're working with. And then they punch all these numbers into a formula, into this software, and it cranks out good matches, right? It's almost like Match.com or one or whatever. And it makes these recommendations based on that. But then the conversations start. So, for example, Lion X and Lion Z make good pairings, but one of them is in Miami and the other one is up in Seattle. Is that really the best move you can make for these animals?
There are so many factors. Not to mention, the animals have a choice. Right now, the zoo has been given a recommendation to breed the Malayan tigers. So the work is underway to determine when it could happen and how it should play out.
We need to be very thoughtful about our planning for how that breeding will take place, when it will take place, what will happen after the babies are born, whether we need to help mom or let mom take care of them. The SSPs, they make their recommendations. We have conversations with other zoos about, what are the best fits. But ultimately, it's up to the animals. We could have brought our male gorilla in. Personality on paper and all that looks great. Bring him here. Females look at him and go, no thanks. And that could happen with any one of our species.
It is a balancing act that takes collaboration between animals, keepers, and zoos. So when you see babies, you're seeing the result of months, even years of work.
It's not because we were just simply trying to get people to come see our lemurs and we had babies.
And I think that's a common misperception about how these work, right? Because people are cynical, right? It'd be easy to think, revenue's down, we need a new lion.
Exactly, right. And it doesn't work that way at all. Now, sometimes it works really, really well for the zoo when we can time, a birth around, our peak season, if you will. But that is not option number one. We don't just breed just for the sake of breeding or just for the sake of encouraging guests to come to the zoo. It's really more about just trying to make sure that we're breeding to make sure that we have these animals in our facilities and also to make sure that we are able to sustain this over a long period of time.
That's going to do it for our look inside the Woodland Park Zoo today. I hope you enjoyed all things babies. Remember, we introduced you to a new species here at the zoo, the red-ruffed lemur. We showed you how they baby-proof things for the tapirs, and of course, who can forget all the fun out here dockside with those penguins. The staff here leaves no stone unturned, and neither will we, because now is time to answer your trivia question. What is the biggest primate currently living in Madagascar? Is it the red-ruffed lemur, the hedgehog, the hippopotamus, or is it the mongoose? Your answer, if you guessed right, is the red-ruffed lemur. Hippos aren't exactly primates, so that was a little bit of a trick question this time. Now don't go far, because we're back with an all-new episode next week. This time we'll be taking you inside the life of a zookeeper. You get to walk a mile in their shoes. Of course, you can always check us out and have a little fun in the sun here at the Woodland Park Zoo by checking out Cairo7.com/zoo. For now, I'm Matthew Smith. Where did I put that anchor? Here inside the Woodland Park Zoo, you can read all about the South American Humboldt penguin. Now, if you read about them, what you'll learn is for 4 decades, their population's been going down. Climate change, habitat destruction, it's all part of the problem. But as you take a look at these swimmers, you gotta ask, how do you keep them safe? Shelby Miller's gonna help us figure that out.